Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea Time with Tuskeh. It's Thursday, the 22nd of September, so sit back, relax with a cup of tea, and let's chat WoW news, content, and discussion. So today in the news, the Legion Companion app has been updated with some bug fixes, so make sure you update it. There's also been a new round of hot fixes. Most of them are small bug fixes, but my favorites are Warlocks can now run through the portal to their class hall and be successfully teleported to their class hall, and Nomi will now also check your bank to see if you have any silver mackerel for him to burn. Fantastic. PvP hotfixes include small reductions for demon hunters and rogues, and increases to the primary stats of Mistweaver monks, holy paladins, discipline and holy priests, and restoration shaman. There are also a whole ton of new unofficial notes for unofficial changes, so don't read too heavily into them just yet. They're not official, just remember, don't go crazy about them yet. A nice little note here is that slightly burnt food has been data mined on the patch 7.1 PTR. Nomi seems to be improving. Fantastic. And finally, Mythic Plus dungeons are out, and they are great amounts of fun. I know that's not really big, heavy pieces of news, but I love them, they are so much fun. So moving on to the daily tip. So with Brewfest out, it's time to farm Corin Diabrew for a chance at a mount and plenty of lovely Brewfest tokens. But they've changed up how you reach him. No longer do you appear directly in the Grim Guzzler ready to go. Now you actually have to get to the Grim Guzzler and to Corin Diabrew. But fear not. Hidden directly to the right of the entrance when you appear in the dungeon is a group of small control consoles. Click on one, hit, pull the levers, and you'll be teleported to Corin Diabrew. So spread the word, let folks know about this one, and make sure you mention in instance chat if anyone is confused, because it seems like not a lot of people know this, and I've heard a particularly heart-rending story about a new player who entered Corin Diabrew and was kicked 3 times in a row because he didn't know where to go. A completely new player. That sucks. Always remember that you may be working with players who are new, and always give them the benefit of the doubt. So spread word about this one. Hopefully we can help alleviate a bit of the confusion. Moving on to the screenshot of the day. This is a screenshot that's cool, pretty, or interesting. You can send in screenshots via twitter.com/Tuskeh or just mail them to me. Now, today's screenshot comes in from Booster, and although the screenshot itself might not jump out at you, the story behind it is rather amazing. Booster emailed me, and I quote, "This is a random mythic group I found via the group finder, and typically I always end up in a group that goes nuts and starts to flame on each other over the simplest and the smallest mistakes. But this time, it was all different. We had fun, laughed at mistakes, tried again and died. We died a lot. But the important part of it is that we had fun and learned from our mistakes. You don't learn the encounter if you get insulted and flamed on. You mostly want to just get it over with, and at the end it's pure luck as to whether you get the boss down. Learn from each other, respect each other. That will go a much longer way." And I have to say, I completely agree with Booster. Having patience is by far the most important aspect of being in any kind of pickup group. Like I said, you have to assume that players aren't as experienced as you. So always take your time, always respect each other, and remember that there are people on the other end of all of those characters and all of those monitors. So that is the screenshot of the day. I love the story behind it. You can, again, send in screenshots via twitter.com/Tuskeh or mail them to me. Moving on to the Q&A. You can send in questions again via twitter.com/Tuskeh. You can email them to me or simply leave them in comments. The first question comes in from Sergio, who asks, "Do you think you will ever do a face cam AMA?" Which is an Ask Me Anything. So that may be something I do in the future, perhaps on a live stream, but for now, I don't have any plans to do that. It will really depend on how many questions I get and how much this show grows. Maybe we'll do a live tea time with Tuskeh at one point. That sounds like fun. But for now, it's on the drawing board. We'll have to see how it goes. Chuchi Rizton, I'm sorry if I screwed your name up, asks, "Tuskeh, what's your favorite mount?" Well, I definitely know the answer to this one. It's one of the ones that I don't have. The Armored Sky Screamer. I absolutely adore the Zandalari Terror Wings, and I've always wanted one for myself as soon as they were announced. This is definitely on my to-do list now that I'm level 110, and that I might be able to solo the Throne of Thunder. I'm gonna have to see how that goes. I want this mount, basically. Lucas Barros asks, "What is the energy bar and combo points add-on you have?" Well, These are actually 2 separate WeakAuras. Now, I'll put import links in the description, so you can just copy the string of numbers and letters there, create a new WeakAura, hit import, paste, and then confirm, and you will have my WeakAura for an energy bar and the energy bar number. That's literally all it is. Macarius Gaming asks, Tuskeh, if you were ever to do so, which dirty alliance race would you play? Worgen, probably. They are absolute gentlemen, I love their story, and I have to say, all throughout doing the Stormheim story, I was sitting there and just going, can we defect? Seriously, Sylvanas is just evil. Can we just go and help Greymane? I like Gen Greymane, I like the Worgen. They might be a bit xenophobic, but then they're humans. Almost everyone in World of Warcraft is xenophobic in some kind of way. So yeah, Worgen for sure. I like them, I like Worgen. So there you go. Finally, David McCann asks, I've started tanking in Legion and am loving it, though finding it more nerve-wracking and stressful than DPSing. I'm struggling with moving using my keyboard though, as I'm used to using my mouse. I'm putting my back to the boss anytime I need to move him. Any advice? Alright, so rather than just say, oh, you just need to learn how to do this, let's do an exercise together. So, if you want to learn about this, just log on to World of Warcraft now and just find an open area. And then I'll cut to a piece of live footage where I'll just go over some of the things I'm doing and hopefully it'll help you out. Alright, so here I am in lovely sunny Mulgore, and we are just going to do a little bit of a movement exercise to help answer this question. So, there are a whole bunch of different ways to move your character. So you've got the W key, the S key, the A key, and the D key. Those are the default bindings. You also have the forward key, the backwards key, the left arrow key, and the right arrow key. Those were the arrow keys I was just using there, right? So generally, unless you're left-handed, you don't generally want to be using the arrow keys. So for this example, we're going to be sticking with W, A, S, and D, or the WASD configuration as it is known. So you have that, and you also have your mouse. So obviously holding right-click allows you to move your character, who will basically face wherever you are moving your mouse. And finally, you can use the left mouse button to move your camera independent of your character. So I'm using the WASD keys to move around right now, and moving the camera independently. Right. And, oh, yes, there's one more as well. There are so many different ways to move in this game. You can also hold both mouse buttons to run forwards based upon where your camera is facing. So the absolute key to effective movement, as any class, but especially as a tank, is strafing. Now, strafing is by default bound to the Q and E keys, but if you look down here, I already have these bound. So you can by default use them, but for this example, I'm going to be using a combination of keys. So I'm going to be using the W and D keys, which makes me do this, and the W and A keys. But if you combine these two movements with holding the right mouse button down, you will strafe in the direction you're looking. This is how you want to move around. So let's say we're fighting a big boss, right? Let's see if I can put a world marker down. I can't because I'm not in a group. Bloody hell. Alright, that's fine. That's fine. Let's just pretend that... Here we go. Let's just pretend that this gazelle fawn is the boss, okay? There we go. So we want to tank this guy, and we want to make sure that our back is never facing him, because if our back is facing him, we can't mitigate his attacks through parry or dodge or block or anything like that, so we'll be taking bonus damage. We don't want that. So let's say that we want to, like, move our character over to, say, here. So if we just did like this, he would put, you know, we'd be putting our back to him at any given point, which we don't want. So instead, we'll strafe. So I will use the W and D keys and hold the right mouse button, and then just constantly face him like this. So that will allow me to move sideways, and this time I'll use the W and D key while holding the right mouse button, so I can still face him whenever I want. Another good way to do this, if you want a bit more horizontal movement as opposed to moving forward or backwards a lot, you can just use the A and D keys in complete synchrony with your right mouse button. So this way I'm moving in a circle around him by slowly moving my mouse to the right while holding the right mouse button and holding the D key. At all times I'm facing him. Then I can just go to the left instead by using the A key. And then you can experiment, like I can do this kind of thing if I want to move around and face by using the S and A keys in combination with the right mouse button. This is the kind of thing you're going to want to get used to. Naturally, it does make it difficult to use abilities at the same time while doing this, but one good way I found to counteract that is to simply... So let's say you're tanking the boss and you're like, okay, active mitigation, active mitigation, active mitigation, and then you have a slight pause and you just tap like that. And you do a bit more, and you tap, and do a bit more, and you tap, and do a bit more. That's a good way to slowly shimmy yourself backwards. So yeah, that is what I would suggest. And hopefully this answers your question. That will conclude the Q&A. If you have any questions, you can just send them in to twitter.com/Tuskeh, email them to me, or just leave them in a comment. Just make sure you leave them on a Tea Time with Tuskeh video. If you leave them on another one, I won't put them in this series. Now let's move on to Lore Nerd, where we discuss a piece of the lore in World of Warcraft. So today, I would like to posit a theory. It's completely unconfirmed, but I think I might know how this expansion is going to go down. So, spoilers, obviously, for the Emerald Nightmare. So if that is a concern to you, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. But if it's not, let's discuss. So first of all, Zal Atath, the Blade of the Black Empire, is an old god weapon that Shadow Priests use for their artifact. Now, the special thing about this is that it will often whisper things to the player. Fair enough. Now, recently the Emerald Nightmare opened up, and there is one boss called Il'gynoth, which is basically a massive corrupt tree. Now, when you're standing there waiting to attack Il'gynoth, Zal Atath will occasionally whisper that basically Il'gynoth is just a small part of a growth of N'Zoth, N'Zoth being one of the old gods, and the only remaining old god that we haven't fought and killed. So keep that in mind. Il'gynoth is basically part of N'Zoth, or related to N'Zoth in some kind of way. So, while you're fighting and basically while you're near Il'gynoth, Il'gynoth himself will whisper you, and he has two particular lines. They are,
"The King of Diamonds has been made a pawn."
And
5 keys to open our way. 5 torches to light our path.
so the King of Diamonds, that's Magni Bronzebeard, the guy who basically woke up in the middle of Ironforge after trying to commune with the Earth, and immediately says, "I've been hearing Azeroth's voice. She's a Titan and she needs our help. We have to get the 5 pillars of creation." Right? I don't think he's hearing Azeroth's voice. Either Azeroth has become corrupted, which is bad, or he's hearing N'Zoth's voice. Here's the thing. 5 keys. The 5 pillars of creation. I think that these keys, the pillars of creation, are the keys to unlocking N'Zoth's prison. This is my theory, my guess. N'Zoth is going to get involved in some way. Maybe that will be the next expansion, maybe a patch, maybe we will stop the Burning Legion from invading Azeroth by closing the portal in the Tomb of Sargeras and inadvertently unleash N'Zoth. I don't know, we'll have to see. Either way, pretty damn cool. That will conclude this video. If you have any questions for the show, any thoughts, comments, or suggestions, you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. If you want to help support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in the World of Warcraft.